So if you're an e-commerce company, what are you doing if you don't even have a generative AI experience? You may lose a customer. They may go to ChatGPT. They'll just partner with Shopify, and that revenue is gone. We've realized that customer service is the best entry point for using generative AI. When they realize that it actually understands and will answer and take actions, people get excited and they'll use it more. We're seeing the conversion go up dramatically. These AI agents will have its own brand tone. We have so many different brands, like celebrity-backed brands. Everyone wants to talk to the customer in an engaging way, the right tone. But then if someone's extremely angry, you don't try to have a funny response. You have to really resolve the problem immediately. There's a million different nuances, and I think that's where we're great at going like super deep.
And welcome to the Startup Innovators Podcast, where we look at some of the hottest companies on the planet. And I got a really exciting guest today, Mike Zayonc, who is the co-founder of Kodif, but spent, close to a decade doing some major work at Plug and Play, managing some of their funds, investing in all kinds of companies. Many of them became unicorns. So we've got a story of, we'll say, investor turned entrepreneur. And which isn't always the case. A lot of times it's entrepreneur makes a bunch of money, has an exit, becomes an investor. But Mike has taken the opposite route, which has probably prepared him well to have his company Kodif succeed based on all the use cases over the past decade that you've seen, plus or minus. So we're super excited to have you on board, Mike.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. Super excited to be here.
So I'd like to do a quick introduction because not everybody is familiar with the companies and our guests, and I'm going to go for that right now. So let's rock and roll. Mike Zayonc, you are the co-founder of Kodif, a San Francisco-based company that builds AI agents, hot word these days, for e-commerce brands. Kodif creates AI-powered customer support agents that automatically handle customer questions on websites such as order tracking, returns, product inquiries. Unless you've been living under a rock and you're a hermit somewhere up in the mountains, everybody's dealt with technical support issues, whether it's for every little e-commerce company that you're trying to buy something from, all the way up to Amazon. You know the experience. You always need help, and the chatbots are getting better and better now with agentic AI. They're going to a new level. Sometimes you don't even know whether you're dealing with a live person or not. Mike's really changing the game with Kodif. The AI can resolve a large share of support requests instantly without human agents. That's where everything is going. Some of Kodif's big brand customers include Liquid IV. I have to say, my son bought and used a lot of that this weekend at the California State Wrestling Championships, where they cut and they hydrate back with Liquid IV. So believe me, pretty big in wrestling circles. The Dollar Shave Club and True Classic, where you've demonstrated the ability to automate roughly 70% of customer support interactions while improving customer satisfaction and conversion rates. As we mentioned earlier, Mike was very involved for close to a decade and still as an advisor with Plug and Play Tech Center. He was a founding partner of the $25 million supply chain fund at Plug and Play Tech Center. And that fund helped lead investments in dozens of early stage startups across a broad range of verticals, logistics, automation, and supply chain. Plug and Play, for those that are not familiar, Mike and I were just talking. I was at a big robotics conference down there in the San Francisco Bay Area a couple weeks ago. It's amazing history if you've never known about it. But it's really grown into a global innovation platform that connects startups in the ecosystem, corporations, investors, universities, thought leadership. And its portfolio has included companies that we all know like Dropbox and PayPal, Guardian Health, and Honey. I use that all the time on Amazon. And it's been supported by more than 30 companies that have actually reached unicorn status. Companies that have valued at least $1 billion plus. You joined Plug and Play in 2016 after moving from Vancouver to Silicon Valley as an intern, and they spent 7 years building the company's supply chain innovation ecosystem. That grew from 3 offices to over 50 global locations, from roughly $5 million in annual revenue to over $120 million. Mike also graduated from the University of British Columbia with a bachelor's degree in management, specializing in entrepreneurial tech and finance, where he was on a full ride scholarship playing men's varsity basketball. There's a lot to be said, Mike, for high-level collegiate athletes. I've talked on many podcasts about the inherent qualities that D1 level in the United States athletes go through, from
Mm,
adaption, coachability, focusing on stats, continuous improvement, taking criticism. So many athletes, I think, make great entrepreneurs. I'm sure you found that same thing, but it's excited to meet
yeah.
another one.
Yeah, definitely. You realize as an athlete, you're always winning and losing, right? And the competition's always getting tougher and tougher. And so I think it's the same when you're a founder or an entrepreneur. It's like you always have to be operating at your best and always improving. And all the team aspects come into it. So there's a lot of us that transfer from being a college athlete into being an entrepreneur. So for me, it's a smooth transition. It's I wouldn't rather be doing anything else.
Well, I love the Olympic Club sweatshirt that you're wearing for the San Francisco Olympic Club. It's
Thank you.
funny. We talked earlier. My son had a junior membership, he's a swimmer, and I was always amazed. I'd go and look at all the old pictures where they'd have like the swim team or the hockey team or the basketball team or whatever it was from like 1902 and 1903. And I looking at them saying, wow, it was 100 years ago, and they were just like we are today with big dreams about the future. And now most of them are probably gone. It's just always a reminder of how we've got to seize the day and make the moment count and do big things in the short time that we're here on this earth.
Yeah, definitely. It's such a great reminder, and that's definitely another special place, and it's been cool to also continue to play basketball there after all the startup stuff and after all the college basketball years ago coming first.
Yeah, and they've got a beautiful facility, beautiful basketball court too in there. Been there many times. All right, so let's get going in this. Before we start talking about Kodif, I want to get back to this idea about this transition that you made from investor to entrepreneur. As we said earlier, a lot of times you see the opposite. Someone has a big exit. Now they decide I've got some money. I don't want to run a company, but I want to invest in other people who are where I was many years ago. But there are many folks who do the opposite. They start out as investors and maybe they figure if everybody else can do it, I'd rather not just advise and invest, but I want to go through that grind
Yeah.
and build. I want to be a builder myself. What made you decide after all those years? Because you could have stepped it up and gone to a major VC firm, started your own VC firm, raised money, raised the fund, but you chose to take the hard route. There is no easy entrepreneurial venture. Every time we have this discussion, I ask, what was your near death experience? And everybody says, you mean my two or three? So you decided to undertake that. Maybe it's the college athlete in you
Yeah.
wanting to challenge himself, but what drove that decision?
Yeah, what drove that decision was obviously well, first Plug and Play kind of grew like we were a startup while I was there. Like it was from 2015 till when I emerged full time with Kodif, like around like 2022-ish. It was nonstop growth. And so I think when I became a partner with Plug and Play, managed all their supply chain group, we were a global company. And what excited me was actually I was talking to an advisor who had a lot of experience working with startups, and he recommended you've worked with so many companies and you Plug and Play's invested in so many great companies and you have such a great network. You should leverage this for a startup. And the worst thing that will happen is you'll get great experience and you'll really dive deeper. And since I've been doing this the last few years, just being a full-time co-founder with Kodif, it's been really exciting to really go deep in a startup, right? Because when you're a VC partner or you're working in a VC or you're working with all these startups, you always hear the best of like every company and you always kind of see like superficially like what's happening. But I think the best VCs that I've seen or the most respected ones are normally the ones who kind of did it themselves and they were a founder and they had that level of success. And I think that's kind of what motivated me to do this was just to go really deep with a startup, get that experience, and worst case, like I'll learn a lot, and it's definitely you learn more than you would expect being full time with a startup company.
Well, yeah, and even if you wanted to go back to being an investor one day, you're going to see it through a different set of eyes, even though intellectually, experience it with them, hear the stories, talk to them about it, you intellectually understand all that. There's just something different about, when you're losing sleep at night because something's happening and we go through this recruiting all the time. Somebody left a great position, has a family because they believe in the dream of the entrepreneur and, what is it? Heavy is the weight that wears the crown, right? You feel that pressure, of making payroll, of helping these people become successful because they believe in you. And I just think having that emotional perspective in a visceral way, even if you went back to being an investor, it would just add to that toolkit when you're looking at who to invest in and how to guide them.
Definitely, and you have a lot more empathy, right, with the
For sure.
founders, and you kinda, like, speak that language because there's a huge difference between, like, living in the spreadsheets and just analyzing, like, all the company's due diligence, for example, and, like, really doing it and just, understanding, like, how the entrepreneurs feel about, like, achieving the next milestone and all the challenges that come with that, so I I would definitely recommend more VCs take that route as well, and I think it will help them in their career, but most people are not willing to do that, take that jump.
Yeah, I have a good friend who was a guest on an earlier one, and he spent 10 years managing a decent sized VC fund. Then he decided to go do a startup, and that was successful, and he sold it. And then he went to UiPath when they were doing, I think, 40 or 50 million a year. And then he was like the number two or three guy on strategy, working with the head, and worked all the way through their IPO, which was in the tens of billions of dollars. So he's kind of gone through the whole investing or doing a startup, then pulling the pieces together as a strategy and a core dev leader to build something enormously huge, one of the biggest IPOs I'd say ever. Well, let's get into Kodif now. We know why you've made that jump. You want to challenge yourself. You're going to be a more empathetic investor or a successful entrepreneur or go back and forth. Who knows? But let's talk about Kodif. Like, where did the idea come from? You want to start a company and you thought, this is the market opportunity for me right now.
Yeah, so I obviously dealt with a lot of companies at Plug and Play. I think Plug and Play is recognized as one of the most active investors in the world. So at the early stages. So I dealt with a lot of companies. We invested in a lot of companies. What really excited me initially with this company was, or with Kodif and just jumping on board full time was just the kind of the capabilities of the team and the market. Like I thought to myself years ago, like customer service definitely is going to change with AI. Like generative AI was starting to it's not nearly as big as it is now, but it was starting to emerge and now it's like widely recognized that in B2B use cases like customer service using generative AI is the most clear B2B use case that's repeatedly giving ROI and business value. And so that's been really exciting to be part of this like wave of companies that are kind of capitalizing on leveraging real use cases for generative AI. And then from the team perspective, I was really excited to work with my co-founders. And from a technical side, I was especially excited that our CTO wrote a white paper at Uber for automating customer service. So if I was to like go and network, right, and bring on a bunch of e-commerce companies or other corporations to leverage our AI agents, I realized like we need to have something very deep to back it up. And so given that our CTO built now the most automated customer support system ever being Uber, and we could take his capabilities and really apply it, I think that helped us really get started. One, raise some capital to kind of get going, but also just like the initial customers said, okay, this guy really has lived through this. He's seen like these automations, he's seen these different use cases. And so I think that really propelled us to get going. And so I had a lot of comfort in doing that, knowing that if we end up like getting some of these customers, like when we brought on like Dollar Shave Club or Liquid IV or True Classic, like some of
Yeah,
our current customers, they they all like for a startup of our size, those were really big logos. And so
huge.
they needed to have something very reassuring behind it to say, okay, we're going to actually go and test this. Because our model is always like, let's just get people to test Kodif, get them excited about it. And we know that we have a great product. So if we can go live and just have them on the site, they're going to immediately see the value just because it is a great business case. It is like kind of a no brainer, is what I tell a lot of. We mostly focus on e-commerce. We do have a few other customers, like some of the largest crypto wallets, like CoinMarketCap, Trust Wallet. We have some health companies like Alma. the mental health market company, but we really like our sweet spot is e-commerce. So we have a lot of Shopify brands. They're on like Zendesk, they're on, Gorgeous, they're on Salesforce, they're on these ticketing systems. And we know that we can go really deep and then integrate with those systems and actually go and take complex actions over digital channels. So that's kind of like how we've emerged today, but it's been very exciting knowing that like this is a very fast growing industry, and oftentimes like people want to have a best in class experience for their customer service. If you have like we talked before, like a lag, and you, for example, contact customer service, no one responds in 24 hours, like I'm a frustrated customer. Whereas like now you can go to ChatGPT, or and you can go to like now like Kodif customers websites or over digital channels like SMS, and you can just resolve your problem immediately. So to me, it's kind of a no brainer, like huge cost savings, better customer experience. And what we've also noticed is the customer support teams who actually manage these tickets day to day are actually happier, because no one really wants to handle like, where's my order like all day, every day, right? They want to
Yeah.
do more meaningful. They want to, engage with customers, build deep kind of relationships with the customers, and
Mhm.
do things that are very thoughtful that will really retain the customer. So that's where we're seeing things move, and it's been definitely very exciting to be part of this kind of a boom.
So are you guys getting into answering questions about like product features and things like that? So for example, you go to Amazon, you buy a pair of shoes, but then you've got a specific question about it that's not just right up available. And they've got a chat bot, some type of AI where you can ask questions. It'll give you answers. I find it's sometimes it's 50-50 whether it's good. Are you doing that, or are you just
Like
focusing right
Rufus,
now
right?
on yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, Rufus, yeah.
Yeah.
I give Rufus a 5 out of 10. Our family, we've got a bunch of business. We live and die off of Amazon. I give
Yeah.
Rivers 5 out of 10. But so that part's really helpful. Are you doing that kind of thing? You're just focusing on questions about, where is my order? When was it delivered? How do I return something? Those type of issues right now.
Yeah, so we're doing both.
Okay.
And kind of what I talk to a lot of these brands about is like you want to go really deep and have a really great experience. So it will answer the product questions. It will answer the customer support questions. It can even be like a concierge. You can go to ChatGPT or a lot of the LLMs now, and you can actually go to checkout on those LLMs. So if you're an e-commerce company, like what are you doing if you don't even have a generative AI experience? Like you may lose a customer, they may go to ChatGPT, they'll just partner with Shopify, and then they're going to check out, and that revenue is gone, right? And so that's why we partner with a lot of these brands, because we've realized that one, customer service is the best entry point for using this generative AI on the site. People will go and ask it questions. When they realize that it actually understands and kind of like will answer and take actions, people get excited and they'll use it more. We're seeing the conversion go up dramatically with a lot of these AI agents, because people get excited. They'll even ask it random questions. It will have its own brand tone. You can choose, like, we have so many different brands, like celebrity backed brands, etc. Everyone wants to talk to the customer in an engaging way, like the right emojis, the right tone for the customer. But then if someone's extremely angry, like, you don't try to like have a funny response. Like, you have to really resolve the problem immediately. So there's a million different nuances, and I think that's where we're great at going like super deep. But yeah, like if you go to like True Classic, for example, they actually adopted us because they wanted to like ask some product questions, and then you can just add to cart. So it's like you can go directly from the AI chat on the site, and you can just say, "Hey, I want to
Right
buy
to the
a."
point of sale. Yeah.
Yeah, and it will just check out right from there, and or it will go and save it inside of the cart. So the conversion is also picking up. But the way that I see it is like our approach is like customer service first, just solve the problem. Like it's kind of like what a great salesperson would do. If a customer comes to you and you just blindly sell it to them and just say, "Hey, you need to buy this," it probably won't work with the customer unless you kind of get lucky. You really have to understand their pain points and what they actually want to solve. And so the way we've designed code is if the customer comes and they have the problem, if we go and we change their address or we change their order and it's done in like a few clicks, and you just type in a few sentences into the AI agent, then you can actually go and sell to the customer. You can upsell the customer. And
Right.
so that's kind of the methodology we've taken. Some companies have taken different approaches, but I think that's the best way, is just engage with the customer how they want to be engaged with. And then once the customer is happy or you actually solved the customer's problem, that gives us the right to go and say, by the way, maybe because we know this data about this customer, like this is a high LTV customer that really likes these specific products,
Yeah.
we can make a specific recommendation for them.
Yeah. I thought the best upsell on the tech support end was your number 76 in queue.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I don't think that's just going to make your customers leave. But
Well,
there's so many companies that still have that. Like majority of companies still have just like a horrible experience. You can't get through, which is crazy, right? In this generative AI era.
well, you just hit upon something that is like such a powerful idea that I never really thought about, but I kind of wish, subconsciously is there is that connection when you're going back for your order that maybe you're someone that orders $10,000 a month of a product versus someone that just did a spot order here and there. And the AI would have the ability instantly to pull that data together and say, like you said, a significant purchaser, we have to treat them with gold gloves because that's where our revenue's coming in. And instead, the 10,000 person is 75 queue. They get pissed off. They leave. Maybe they get the question answered or they don't get it answered. But the last thing they want to do is just buy more stuff from you. We've all had the experience where we're sitting waiting or waiting for a call back or waiting online for an hour. Hey, I've spent several hours. Sometimes you've got to get a question and you wait for hours. And even though when they finally answer the question, you're so pissed off at the company and irritated. Maybe you get, a person eventually who helps you out. But this would be an area that once the agents, you can't tell the difference between a real person except they're more powerful. They can always treat you nice. That's one thing about AI. They'll always treat you kindly and make you feel good. They don't have a headache. They don't have a bad day. They're not pissed off. So
Yeah.
I could definitely see, where this is gonna fundamentally change everything. I want to talk about the term agentic AI because, you know, this is like a term that's kind of hit mainstream vernacular, let's say in the past year. But you guys started several years ago, and I
Yeah.
know you just didn't say, "Oh, we just discovered AI today." I'm sure you were using AI for many, many years. It's just that with the LLMs coming out, it's maybe accelerated the pace in what you're doing. But is that where you guys have probably been on the edge of this for a couple years now?
Yeah, I think we were kind of in like the perfect spot as the revolution of leveraging AI agents or generative AI started happening to businesses.
Yeah,
So our initial product was actually like deterministic flows. So it was based off what our CEO or CTO built at Uber. So basically, if you have a specific decision tree, you go through the steps, and then you can give them like a refund or you can take an action. And so that's really like it was very clear, like do this, then that. Generative AI or AI agents have really like changed that. And so we a lot of our initial customers, like our first customer was actually Good Eggs, who came to us and said, "Hey, like Uber, like if you miss like a banana delivery, like why am I contacting customer service? Like if you're a decent customer, just give them a refund immediately, even if it's like a mistake here and there. Like the business value is going to be so much higher than just like wasting time having customers in queue, etc." And so but that was all deterministic, and how we set up the product was deterministic. So what we've done since then is we basically have made our whole product agentic, meaning you can just go and type it as in you would type to ChatGPT. You can type in natural language and say, I want to treat this customer that is having these five issues with this tone, for example. And then these are the rules, these are the FAQs, these are the SOPs. You can just drag and drop those into our product and it will basically build all that. And so there's no need for technical resources. We did all the heavy lift. You just have to drag and drop, type, you can change things. There's a lot of nuances to the product that we set up for the customers. But in general, that's been a big revolution where it's like the AI agents will go and they'll understand all these edge cases, which is why we're creating such a higher level of automation.
yeah.
And then that's the experience you see on the front end with the customers who will will really have a deep level of understanding. The AI will ask clarifying questions. It will go and take actions. What people like about Kodif is like it was designed to actually take the action. Like on Dollar Shave Club, if you want to like cancel your subscription, we'll even go deeper and we'll say like maybe you can pause your subscription because of these three reasons. And it will actually, it's now proving to help with retention of customers. And then you can go into the chat and test it and say, hey, I just want to like change my address. I just moved. Normally you'd have to go into a bunch of systems. Like you just do that all through the AI agent. And so if there's any questions, you can ask it. It kind of walks you through and guides you through everything. So it's definitely an exciting kind of boom. So that's why like the companies before us that were using like the AI chat, for example, that were had a lot of machine learning, like they were using deterministic flows. If then you take an action. Now the AI agents just have such a deeper level of understanding, which is why we're like leapfrogging a lot of companies that have not evolved yet to like having an AI agent that will really go deep and like use the latest generative AI tools.
You know, what's so fascinating is like the next action that the customer takes, so much of it is determined by where their emotional state is at the moment. If you're really pissed off, you want an answer, you want to get out of here, and you're not going to buy anything. If you're really happy and having a good time, then you may be ripe for upselling because you feel good about everything. It's really interesting that it's going to be able to determine kind of the emotional state of
Yeah.
an individual. I remember like, was it Zappos where they changed the metrics and said, we're not looking for the shortest amount of time to get a question resolved. We want the longest period of time because we want that engagement and that relationship to be built.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's a very different model, but I could see how the AI can determine that. And you can have the best of both worlds, right? So when someone's in a great mood, they're feeling good, they like the purchase, they got the answer. And, sometimes I find I've felt with ChatGPT, I'm always saying, please and thank you. I'm like, why am I saying this? It's an algorithm, but you do start to communicate though. And that would be triggers for the AI to say, oh, happy customer feeling good. He's ripe for another purchase. Or don't push anything on this person. They're mad, resolve the problem. If you try to upsell them now, they're going to get pissed off. So the AI being able to understand human emotion for that next action could really be a big factor in this. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because a lot of people contacting customer support, they're not in a good mood. Like there's an
Right.
issue that happened. They want something changed. So you're trying to appease them. Like you're trying to take someone from a negative state to a positive state. So that's why like for human agents, like it's a really tough and taxing job to like deal with people complaining all day, every day, right? And so taking out like the repetitive, like unnecessary request, it really makes a lot of sense. And then customers, if you solve the problem quickly, that's gonna like appease a lot of those customers. So they're gonna change from a negative to a positive, or you give them something if they're a high like LTV customer. Then there's obviously a million nuances where there's customers who try to take advantage of the system and you have to like use the AI to like try to like weed those customers out. Like obviously like there's going to be some that will slip through, but overwhelmingly like if you can solve a lot of the problems and you can ultimately create some value for the customer interacting with the AI agent, then your brand perception is going to go up a lot. And so I think that's critical, especially in e-commerce, right? Where a lot of the value is derived. Like we work with some really successful customer support teams from like Liquid IV, which grew like significantly, or like Dollar Shave Club, and like they all really pride themselves on having a great customer experience. And now it's demonstrable that the level of customer satisfaction, if it's like a really good AI experience, is the best. And it's going to be cheaper than a lot of human agents. But then I was just with at a conference speaking with one of our customers, OneSkin, which is a very seasoned customer experience leader. And she was saying like what she likes to do now with Kodif, like she's super happy with our AI agent, but we don't replace all the human agents, right? And so she really goes deep and like does very thoughtful things for customers, like she listens to them and she'll even send them like a handwritten note or a gift, right? And so
Way.
things like that, like they had an issue like, oh, let's just send something very personal. and really make the customer happy. And that's like going the extra mile. But I think that's been something that's very valuable. And then we have a number of companies in like the pet space, right? Or like some people are like Just Food for Dogs, or like a number of these pet companies. The pet owners will come, and I mean they'll just want to talk to about their dog. Like so they'll train the customer service team to like, yeah, like there's no need to rush, like to improve average handle time is a key metric.
Yeah.
Really empathize with the customer, like to ask them questions about their, and a lot of this will create a lot of retention with the brand in general. Or so, and I think that's great for the human agents. Whereas like the AI agent can go handle these repetitive tasks. We can automate some like returns and like gifts and stuff, but if it's something that takes a lot more thought, I think that's where the role of the human agents is going to evolve into.
When your clients do customer satisfaction surveys, which are probably constant, where does the AI rank now, today, using Kodif versus strictly human agents?
So in general, like the CSAT, NPS, it will all go up. And it's just logical, right? Because if there's a good generative AI experience, especially with most brands, like today, realistically, like there's going to be a lag. Especially a lot of smaller, like mid-size, like e-commerce brands, like there's no one responding on a lot of weekends. Like you go to a
Right.
lot of, it's not going to understand, and then basically you'll get an email, maybe a day or two later, you're going to get a response. And so like in the competitive like e-commerce market today, like that's just, it's not competitive enough, right? And so I think it makes sense for them to have that immediacy, like 24/7. Customers really want accurate responses. So like how much does the AI agent hallucinate? That's when they benchmark us against some of the other AI providers, they'll look at that. Because not all the AI is also created equal, right? Because like you mentioned earlier with like AI agents or generative AI for customer service, it's now a buzzword. So like a lot of people will understand that this is really attractive. I think with us, like we go really deep. We handle these requests. We have a lot of like nuances to the platform. Whereas like there's also a lot of companies who are just saying like, hey, we have an AI agent, try it, leverage it. But then it's like where it normally breaks is like when there's a lot of complex requests coming in, and then it may hallucinate here and there, and it just, that's where the customers will get stopped, and then they'll need to find something else in general.
Yeah, as I said earlier, my two favorite questions I type in is speak to a live agent. That's my number one because I'm so frustrated. And then I always ask, are you an AI or a real person? When I finally start having the communication, you never really know because the market is just enormous because everybody is trying to find a way to improve customer satisfaction, increase retention, and then cut cost, right? That's one of the most frustrating things for the average consumer over the years is that so much of this has been shifted overseas. So you don't have the resources or you don't understand the language or no, the AI has the potential to solve all that. Like the other terrible thing you see is, hey, we're open till 6 p.m. and then you see EST or something. Like, well, I'm in California. It's Friday and it's 3 o'clock. I have many
Yeah.
times literally gone somewhere else to make a purchase just on that alone. And you start thinking about like the lifetime value of a client of a customer when you can lose someone that quickly. You never want your customer to go somewhere else because who knows what experience they're going to have. So this is amazing. When you go into these big brands, is it a pretty easy pitch? Like, what's the blowback that they're giving you about it? Because all this sounds amazing.
Yeah, I think that's exactly the problem, is that it's all sounds amazing. Like I've talked to, and I don't think like all the AI providers are created equal, right? Like
Hmm.
I think there's some other great players in this space. I think the ones doing the deepest level of automation that with the most understanding are the kind of like newer startups like us that, we don't have any like baggage from like a bunch of other business models, right? So it's just like we understand, we go super deep and kind of like build these complex AI agents. And so what I hear all the time from companies is like, what you're telling me, what you guys do, I've heard before. There's a few other companies that are saying this. I've tried, some of them are like, I've even tried like one or two, but they didn't work, right? And so that's kind of like an issue. And so when we know like someone's a great e-commerce company on the like Zendesk, Salesforce, Gorgeous, like Gladly, like we want to work with those companies, or they're on like the e-commerce tech stack. Like we're like, we'll do whatever we can just to try the product because we're very confident in our product and what we build. However, there's a lot of attention that goes into it as well, right? Because it's like, what's more valuable to your company than what your customers are actually saying about you? So there's also a lot of analytics in what goes on. What are the biggest customer complaints? Or it could be like how to improve certain products. So I think customer service and is not just like solving business problems, but it's also creating a different level of intelligence for your actual business. And that's why a lot of companies are investing in this currently.
That's fantastic. So where are you guys today? Like, are you going to raise more capital? What's the next big growth milestone for you guys?
Yeah, so we continue to grow. I would say
Hmm.
like we had very strong growth over the last year. Something we're thinking about is raising some additional capital. We're already pretty well funded for where we're at today, but it's a great market, right? And so it's like we're definitely thinking because there's a huge opportunity in this industry, and I think there's it's proving out to be bigger and bigger winners here. Like I think in e-commerce now, like people know Kodif, like they've seen us around. We've been around a lot of the conferences. Like a lot of the brands are now aware of kind of where we are. And I mean, we're very confident in this market. And so there's a lot of ways we can grow from here. But I think that what we're really currently focusing on is just going deep with the concierge, enabling so you can actually increase conversion directly from the AI agent. And then obviously our core business is solving these customer support requests. So
Yeah.
and just focusing over digital channels. And then the other thing that I think that we get pulled in so many different directions, but the one thing that we've done well on is focusing on digital like text channels like SMS, email, chat. Those I like because they're the most clear. Like if you type something in ChatGPT, for example, like it's going to be normally a better answer than if you dictate it over voice.
Hmm.
And it's just because some people also have accents, some people may misspeak, or there may be background noise, etc. We built a great partnership with a voice AI company, so we've been sending like a lot of deals to them. And so I think there's going to be a lot of winners that have very focused kind of niches here. And so our niche has been like digital channels, mid-size, like or enterprise e-commerce kind of brands. That's been our kind of sweet spot. And then I do see a lot of AI agents that have come and kind of focused on specific sectors or on different channels. One thing that I'm excited that we've done, again, is focusing on the digital channels. We haven't really done the voice channel, which has helped us build a more focused product. So we can have like a very clear point solution if someone wants that specific product. And so it makes us very confident when people come to us and have specific things they're asking for. We know that's kind of where we
Amazing. Well, I love it. You've been an investor and now an entrepreneur, and you've gone through all these different challenges. You met with customers. You're dealing with the weight of the world as an entrepreneur, as everybody goes through in that process. What would be a piece of advice that you could give to someone who's thinking about starting a company, having seen it for both sides, now that you're living in it and you've invested all these companies? What would be the best advice you give to a young person who's just now starting their company?
yeah, I would say this is a very deep question, right? I would say if you're starting a company, like it's a huge commitment. Like be ready to like jump in and just be ready to fully commit yourself, especially if you're starting like a venture backed like AI company. I'd recommend the way I equate it to is like playing basketball, right? It's like, there's one thing to go to the park and just like play with some guys who,
Pick up
just
game.
playing for pickup game for fun. And there's one thing to play in the NBA or like to play like college level. Like if you're a venture back company, like you're playing at a very competitive level. So just be ready for that and be ready to be disciplined, like have that competitive kind of mindset. And and be willing to like really kind of go all in on this company, especially if you're taking like the VC route.
Well, great advice. I love it. It sounds like you're in a great marketplace because everybody's dealing with the frustration. And we're looking forward to 2026 to see what you guys are going to do. See that Kodif brand out there even more. Thank you so much for being a guest on the show.
Thanks, Tim. It was a lot of fun. Appreciate you having me.
Thanks, Mike. Awesome. Talk to you later. Cheers. The Startup Innovators podcast is provided by MatchStar Venture Search. If you're interested in any of our executive roles or need help sourcing world-class talent for your company, check out our website at matchstar.com.